Thanks everyone for joining us here today. I'm Adam Scarzafava, Associate Vice President for Edge Events and Digital Marketing here at Edge. We're really excited to welcome this group of institutions from the NCICU to learn a little bit more about Edge and how we provide nonprofit consortium support for institutions of higher education, helping them achieve their missions through the use of technology. With that, I will pass the ball to Chris Markham, Edge's Executive Vice President, to give a little bit more background and context for Edge, and then we'll get into the meat of today's session and explore how Edge can support your institutions.
Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate you and your time. So bottom line up front, Edge is a nonprofit. We are not a vendor. We were formed of the New Jersey President's Council many years back, not with the explicit and intent purpose of just being confined to New Jersey. It was just at that time there were a group of presidents from the New Jersey President's Council of Higher Education that said, we think this internet thing is going to be a big deal. So they gave birth to us. We are a creature of state statute with reciprocity across the country from sea to shining sea. So we began as a backbone of fiber optic capability to ensure large data sets from research institutions like Princeton University, Rutgers University, and then some, so that they could transmit over a network that was essentially guarded from a cybersecurity standpoint, but also ensured throughput that didn't have latency. So that's kind of the genesis of our nonprofit member-based organization. But over the decades, we have expanded that nonprofit mission and vision to include all kinds of things. And so we have a cooperative pricing platform that offers a variety of products and services to the higher ed community at the nonprofit rate, at below market equilibrium pricing that we have negotiated. It is bulletproof from an audit standpoint. It maps to and is informed by the procurement state law, hence the reciprocity that we have across the country. And so we currently operate in about 17 states with the ability to operate in all 50 states. But what we do is very targeted. We host 3 conferences per year that are dedicated, and Adam will talk more about that later in the presentation here. But those are opportunities for technical and non-technical thought leaders that come together. We have representation from across the pond and all across the United States that come to those. At our most recent conference, we had one of the leading national thought leaders in the field of AI. We hope to have Dr. Eddie Watson back again. But we, just to give you kind of a quick appetizer and teaser of what it is that we offer at these conferences. So these are great opportunities for individuals and like yourselves to connect and collaborate. And so we seek to provide value add across the entire digital life cycle from of your institution. We can engage in any aspect of that, whether it be enrollment and recruiting to alumni and donor relations, and then everything in between. Michelle and Josh will dive into some of that. But again, just bottom line up front, we are a nonprofit, member-based organization. We are a creature of statute, born of the New Jersey President's Council, with lead agency status, which gives us some reciprocity and legal capabilities to procure products and services that otherwise would not be available to most institutions. And so I'll end on this. Whereas some states, not all, but many, will typically have a state government entity for information technology services. The unique thing about Edge is that we fill some of those gaps, but we do it in a faster way because of our nonprofit status. So we are able to our go-to-market, capabilities and timeline is just accelerated because of the fact that we still map to and are informed by the same laws from a procurement standpoint, but we're much more nimble and agile and just a little bit more capable of eliciting out your wants, your needs, and then ensuring that those wants and needs are met in a timely fashion. And with that, I'll turn it over to the next. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. As we get going with Dawn's portion on cybersecurity here, I do see a hand raised from Melissa in the participants list. Melissa, if you have a question, please drop that in the chat or the Q&A. And if we can get to it during the session, we will there. If not, we'll make sure to be able to take you off mute at the end of the session so you can ask the question verbally if you'd like to. But with that, Dawn, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So glad to meet you all. My name is Dawn Dunkerley. I am the lead virtual Chief Information Security Officer here at Edge. If you notice a different accent, I am actually based out of Huntsville, Alabama, so Rocket City, USA. My background is about 20 years serving with the U.S. Army, primarily in a civilian function, focused in cybersecurity and cyber intelligence. I have a PhD in information systems focused in cybersecurity, and actually in the measurement of success in cybersecurity, which is a fascinating thing to bring to the education environment. And that is a lot of what we try to do, is bring world-class tools to bear for the educational environment, things that you might not necessarily have been able to afford or procure, because we do a lot of things on a fractional basis. So we'll talk about that in a second. So next slide, please. Okay. So really here, what we're trying to talk about is laying out a menu of options. Everything is tailored very specifically to the organizational needs. Higher ed has different needs than K-12. So that's where we kind of come together to bring, again, from the menu of options to fit the need that you have. So we'll start kind of here at the top. Understanding, a lot of K-12s don't have a strategy, and a lot of higher ed has a strategy maybe, but maybe it's not fleshed out, or maybe it's old and it's been put on shelf for a long time. So trying to understand what your strategy needs to be to get ahead in this environment. Framework-based security assessments focused on kind of meeting that strategic cybersecurity need. So especially right now in higher ed, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act is really driving a lot of the work that we're doing. What that means is quite literally the ability to process financial aid can be removed if you're not meeting the compliance needs with 800-171 coming up in GLBA requirements now. So so if you're not familiar with GLBA and the coming requirement for 800-171 compliance, really recommend that you read up on that. We're doing a lot of work in that space to make sure that that everybody is ready and is going to be able to process that financial aid without an issue. So a lot of what goes along with that ends up being in that project support. So we do the assessment, we understand where you are, build a work plan. Then we do a lot of work in the virtual Chief Information Security Officer space. So what our team does with that is helps you implement the thing that you were identified as gaps. That can be everything from helping you make technology decisions, running those training and awareness programs, as you see below, helping you if you don't have the proper policies and procedures, helping you develop those and test those. So incident response plans, for example, helping you with all of those things. We're basically another hand on on the team to help you get what you need accomplished. And what's nice about the service, because it is fractional, A lot of people will call it fractional CISO. You'll see it. Because it is fractional, you're getting a world-class talent, but not paying that $200,000 plus that you see often cybersecurity professionals are bringing to the table. So it's also, I will tell you, it's really, really nice if you have a ransomware situation, if we have a ransomware situation at another institution, unfortunately, it does happen. It's happening just, like wildfire spreading around. But we are able to take the lessons learned from different situations and bring them to bear and try to improve everyone. So making the best out of a bad situation. Third-party monitoring, I do want to touch on that for a second. That's a really, really critical one. The GOBA even is now requiring organizations to monitor their third-party vendors. So when you procure software or hardware from a vendor, you used to be able to say, oh, that's that's their problem. We don't have to worry about it. Maybe we looked at the contract, we're good. Now we have to monitor them to make sure they're not bringing risk to our organization. So in doing that, we have a methodology set up where we monitor for the risk through a variety of methods. Are we seeing that they have vulnerabilities? Are we seeing that they're doing their patching? Are they did they have a incident that they didn't report to us? So we're looking for all of those things, so we can help with that support as well. A lot of that activity, then we have to report up for governance, reporting up to a board, reporting up sometimes to CIO or the president, or however that works within the institution. So setting up dashboards and governance structures so that we can measure that success and then report that up as well. We talked a little bit about regulatory compliance already with the 800-171, but we also have, in many cases, the requirement to annually seek out and get cyber insurance. So we can do the analysis of different policies, help out with choosing that, help out with filling the forms, making sure that we meet the insurance requirements, because that drives the cost down on an annual basis as well. So that's good. We can get more secure and we can spend less money on the insurance. And then finally, the intelligence and analysis. This is a really technical portion of it, and this is one of the things that I think is so critical that we bring to the table, is really world-class intelligence and analysis activities. So vulnerability scanning and penetration testing are two of the big things that need to happen on a regular basis. Penetration testing being at least annually. Somebody going in and trying to ethically hack your systems and then tell you where you have your flaws, where we need to improve our defenses, and then scanning at least monthly. So we offer services. Security Operations Center support. So we do have a SOC team that can ingest your log data and different pieces of data and provide alerts and reports on the activity that they're seeing. Listen, nobody has time to read through logs, and even if you do have a SIM service like a Splunk or something like that, they get really expensive really fast. So we worked really hard to provide a affordable SOC service that can meet that need for teams. So we're really proud of that one. Threat hunting, they do a good amount of threat hunting through the SOC team as well. We also have some really world-class NetFlow analysis tools that we have access to. So if you're not familiar with NetFlow, it allows you to see the traffic going in and out of a network. We can't see the packets, so we're not seeing the traffic, like what's inside, but we can see who it's going to and where it's coming from. And that's really helpful for a little bit of a trust but verify. So you say, you think you have the firewall, you think you have everything set up properly, to block things, and then we see traffic going places that it ought not to be. It allows us to really verify that things are working the way they want to. In a time of crisis, it lets us see where things might have left the building, so to speak. So some really kind of high speed tools that we do that, and all of that, by the way, is passive. Nothing on the network, so we don't have to even bother your team to put things on for us and stand them up. So that's cool. And then finally, dark web monitoring. So this is really interesting. Obviously, we see ransomware and other kind of breach situations where credentials are being breached, sometimes intellectual property or data, relating to internal organizational changes or whatnot. Anything can show up on the dark web. So we have the ability to do monthly reporting. Even we can do more often. Again, everything can be tailored to your needs, but we can do reporting on what related to your organization is on the dark web, and allow you to make changes associated with that. So say you have a credential dump on the dark web, we're able to tell you what those are, so that you can make those changes, for example. So just an example of how that's often used. That is all that I have on that side. Any questions from anybody?
None in right now, but I'll keep an eye on the chat, and we'll make sure if any come in, we'll hold them till the end, and we'll get back to them. But thank you, Dawn. It's a great rundown on what you're up to and how you're supporting member institutions today. Appreciate it. Josh, you're up next.
Hello, I am Joshua Gall. I am the AVP and Chief Digital Learning Officer here at Edge. What you're looking at right now is kind of an Edge Learn history of all the partners we've had over the years and schools we've worked with since I joined Edge in July 2020, right smack in the middle of the pandemic. Before we move on, I just have to really quick call out. I know we have at least one representative from Catawba College on the call, and I'm aware of them because they are currently in the Division II Baseball World Series, which my alma mater is also in. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania for my undergraduate and graduate, but I think we're both in the elimination bracket right now. So hopefully we keep getting wins. So that was just kind of an interesting observation I saw. But so you'll see all these schools, a number of these schools we still work with, a number of these schools we have worked with and then left, and then they've come back to us to have us do other projects and things like that. So next slide, I'll talk about the things that Edge Learn can do in collaboration with you and for you at your school. So just a quick rundown of all the things that we do. I have a team of full-time instructional designers, instructional technologists, LMS administration expertise, who can help you with any number of these things on this slide. In addition, we have a bench of a couple dozen consultants that we can bring in to do certain things if we need to. When we talk about instructional design services, for a number of schools, we have and we still do provide one-to-one instructional design work with the schools. So we will work one-on-one with faculty, with subject matter experts to design or redesign online hybrid courses with your institution, following your methodology that's in place. The thing I always like to brag about is that we will fit into your jigsaw puzzle. My job is not to come in and tell you you're doing everything wrong. My job is to come in and make sure that we can fit as seamless as we can into your process. If you want some questions, if you have some questions or want some advice about certain things about your process, I'm happy to chat with you about that. But first and foremost, our mission is to help you achieve your mission from an instructional design standpoint. And then, and what I call instructional design on demand, a lot of times the work that your instructional designers do on top of designing and redesigning courses, providing faculty training and things like that, are these like little things that a lot of administrative and executive branch people don't really understand goes into instructional design. And that's the term-to-term stuff. Are all the courses poured into the new shell? Are all the links correct? Are all the dates correct? Have the faculty members that are teaching this term Do they have a different version of the course that they want to have, that they made updates to, that wasn't tracked into the changelog somewhere? All those little things, what I call the organizational Roomba. You turn us on, you tell us this is the stuff we need to have cleaned up. We will go do that for you. That's a different type of instructional design. It seems a little, less brain power needed in that, but it's important, and it's stuff that needs to be done to keep the lights on in your organization. Because if you can't satisfy those basic needs in terms of keeping courses up to date and standing up every term, it's going to look bad to students in the long run and hurt your recruitment, hurt your retention status. So the third up here is digital accessibility. As I'm sure a lot of you know, accessibility is a huge thing nowadays, especially since the pandemic. Looking at UDL standards, looking at any of those rubrics out there, like Quality Matters, like Oscar, all have some accessibility functions in them, standards in them. I have multiple certifications in digital accessibility. One of my instructional designers, who actually is down in your neck of the woods, she's a PhD from NC State and is based in Raleigh, Dr. Laura Romeo. She works for me. She's an accessibility expert, did her dissertation on UDL when applied to science curriculum in schools. We will do digital accessibility reviews. We can do, whether it's your website, web pages, we can give you reports and identify trends of things that need to be fixed. We can do that for coursework too. We have tools that allow us to go in and not just evaluate, like a lot of those, systems you have that plug into your LMS, they're just check engine lights. Unless you go in and actually have people take an active approach to improving accessibility, improving digital, access for students that are differently abled or that have, cognitive disabilities and things like that, it's not really accessible. So we can do reviews, we can do remediation of certain things, of any number of issues with your courses. We're doing that right now for a number of different schools. The second row I called like the technical row. LMS migration services. Every single year, every 2 years, every 3 years, every school is going through an LMS migration at some point in their career. I have been through 3 of them. I am doing my dissertation work right now on the application of change management methodologies to LMS conversions from a faculty perspective. So anything that you need to have done when you're moving, if you're moving to a new LMS, we can do, whether it's the technical migration, we can help with that, whether it's professional development in collaboration with your team, or whether it's all this cleanup stuff. When a course gets moved from, just as an example, from Moodle to Canvas, it's not going to be a seamless transition. You need to go into those courses and make sure that things are still working, things are still functioning, things are still, links are still working, data hasn't been shifted, and things like that. That's the type of work that we can do in support of you. Service management. A lot of times, more often than not, I see so many listings for I need an LMS administrator, but when all is said and done, you don't need an LMS administrator. A lot of times they just need somebody to answer questions about the LMS on the help desk. Those tier 1, tier 2 questions that a lot of your help desk personnel don't have expertise in. We can do that. In addition to the online, digital learning expertise and accessibility expertise, I'm also certified in IT service management and the ITIL framework. So I understand service management, incident management, knowledge management, all those expertise our team can help you with when you're trying to support your faculty, your students, your administrators. The final line, quality assurance. In addition to the digital accessibility reviews and quality assurance there, we can just do standard course reviews. All these courses that you have in your LMS, they need to be updated and kept standard. The last thing you should have is a course that's 7 years old being taught to students in 2024 that has data that's, pulling from 2010 in like a financial accounting course where all the accounting rules have changed so often. We can go in and help you review courses against any number of rubrics, whether it's Quality Matters, Oscar, the Blackboard Exemplary Course rubric, or if you have a homegrown rubric that you use, we can go into courses, apply those rubrics, give you reviews of what those courses are doing, and then we can provide you larger scale reports. You know, for one school, Stockton University, we went through 65 different courses, reviewed them against the Quality Matters rubric, and then we wrote a giant report that showed them, pointed to trends. These are the things that we're finding that are most common in your courses that need to be addressed. These are the things we're seeing that are happening in humanities courses that aren't happening in math courses that aren't happening here. So we can give you kind of a larger picture in those data and analytics for quality assurance if you need them. Professional developments. I mentioned earlier, your instructional designers who work with faculty are also being asked in a lot of cases to train your faculty. Excuse me. I was taught early on, you don't train faculty, you give them workshops, you give them, you know, professional development. So that's what we're doing. We can provide you any number of customized professional development, whether it's a full-on teaching online series, which we've done for multiple schools, or very specific topics, whether it's accessibility. Teaching with HighFlex is one we've done. We've built training programs, workshops regarding building engagement in your online courses, you know, how to ensure students stay active in your courses, active learning methodologies and things like that. So that's something we've done for a number of schools, and we are happy to do for any of you. And finally, the newest of the tools of the services we offer is grant writing services. You know, we have some people on staff who have been PIs on grants, who have written proposals for grants, who have reviewed proposals for grants. We can do that type of support for you in collaboration with your team, and we can help you, you know, go out and get that funding you need to do those larger projects, those digital learning projects, those IT projects that you need to do. We have the expertise to help you do that. The most important thing about all of these things is that everything is customizable. Much like Dawn said, all of her services are customizable. It's the same here. Anything you see on here, anything that's related in any fashion to any of this, that's tangential, just come to us, talk to us. We can help you find, if you have problems that you need to solve, we can help you do that. If you have issues that you need to address, we can help you do that from a thought leadership standpoint, from a strategic standpoint, all the way down to, we just need an extra body for the next 3 months to handle this project, and we don't have the people to do it. We can do that also, because in the end, our goal, like I said earlier, our mission is to help you achieve your mission. And you know, that's my spiel for today. So I'm happy to take any questions, or Adam, however you want to handle it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Josh. Looks like no questions in right now, so we can keep it rolling. But please, if anything comes to mind, drop those in the Q&A in the chat as we go. Chris, the ball is coming back to you to review some of the more sort of institution-wide technology support and advisory services that we're able to offer to our institutions. So, Chris, the floor is yours. Oh, we may have lost Chris's audio or something here. Michelle, if you could follow up and
I'm back. My computer was running the Sonoma update, and
oh, okay.
I lost, yeah, you know, the Apple. So I'm using a Mac. So it's still running in the background. So I'm here, and let me just keep my video muted just in case. I hope if anything, you know, happens with it, Michelle, if you can take over. So the E360, the E360 is kind of a you know, our gold standard here at Edge. We borrow from universally recognized frameworks and methodologies, literally frameworks and methodologies that are well researched, you know, standard to information systems theory, that essentially cover the entire technical landscape. So if you think of information technology, as you're all aware, similar to the field of medicine or law, you have different specialities in medicine, different specialities in law. You might be radiology, oncology for cancer. You might be podiatry for feet. Internal medicine might be a little bit more generalized. Pediatrics for children. Law, you can have all kinds of specialities in law, dealing with, you know, tort law or criminal law, right? So same thing within information systems. It's just a little bit newer as a field as opposed to, you know, medicine and law. And so as it has evolved, information systems theory and research has created frameworks like the Open Group Architectural Framework. You might have heard of that as TOGAF, right? You could do a quick Google search of TOGAF, TOGAF, right? And you'll probably get a Wikipedia page, and it will identify and discriminate and articulate for you all the various components of that framework. And you'll say, oh yeah, intuitively, this makes perfect sense. This is exactly what should be leveraged in constructing, re-engineering, and re-envisioning IT organizations, as the director of IT, as the CIO, as the CTO, and sometimes as the provost, the president, the CFO. And so the methodologies, right, if you think like, okay, information technology service management, ITSM, and how IT service desks and help desks are architected for optimal efficiency and effectiveness, right? You have your tier 1, your tier 2, your tier 3, you have your knowledge base as tier 0. You have these methodologies wrapped into the ITIL practices. So these are just quick examples of things that we leverage, that we borrow from universally recognized frameworks and methodologies, and then are applied across every single reference discipline within the organization as it relates to information technology, hence the the specialities that we see here. And so it is a 360-degree review. It follows a science, a business science, where we will conduct this assessment for you and then provide you with a mixed method report. This mixed method report means that you will get both a quantitative score, right? So just like you would in any other kind of, decent report, you'll get a quantitative score showing how you rank, how you scored in each of these categories, along with a qualitative assessment as well. That's going to be very rich and robust and comprehensive, and resulting in a 3-year roadmap. So we'll actually put you on a 3-year roadmap and say, here are the stated goals and objectives that need to be achieved, the KPIs, the key performance indicators, in order to move your score from a level 2 to a level 9 over the next 3 years. Here are the dependencies. Before you can advance your cloud migration strategy or your network, you're going to have to take care of what Dawn has reviewed and reported for you in the cybersecurity domain. And before you can, engage in any kind of research initiatives that will accomplish these goals, strategic goals and objectives, you're going to have to reevaluate your usage of P cards and PCI, within the procurement department. So this report really is, the CIO, CTO, director of IT, CFO sometimes, and president provost, dream come true. It's affordable. Gartner, if you're familiar with them, the multi-billion-dollar consulting firm and research organization, along with Deloitte, they offer something very similar, but it's going to be and I stand by this number. It's going to be anywhere from 7 to 10 times more expensive. So again, we're not a vendor, so we can do these kinds of things in such a way that just cover our cost, and that's a benefit and a value add to you and to your constituency that in the market is just unheard of. You don't have that kind of value coming out of the proprietary organizations that have shareholders that are rightfully trying to make a lot of money. They're private sector enterprises, but here at Edge, being the nonprofit member-based organization that we are, our focus is really just on cost recovery and ensuring a good quality output on behalf of our members and non-members alike. So the E360 again is a 360-degree review following universally recognized and researched frameworks and methodologies. It follows a business science both in its implementation as well as within its output reporting, strict business science that results in something that will assist you for the next 3 years in executing upon elevating your technology platform, your digital landscape, in the areas that you might be struggling with. And it's an evangelistic tool for the head of IT. It's an evangelistic tool for somebody that is trying to make positive changes and is just looking for voice and how to bring that voice with a good, candid, research-based, input to the table, whether it be cabinet or elsewhere. So it's also a really excellent evangelistic tool. And with that, I'll pause and turn it over to the next slide.
A little bit more from you, Chris, here on some of the more granular services that we offer alongside the E360.
Yeah, so some of the other services that we do that are similar to the E360, but they kind of, typically they come out of the E360 or they're a run up to the E360 business process modeling. So what I have found is that about half of the population in our industry recognizes the value and importance of BPM, business process modeling. About the other half struggles with understanding the real value of it, and for good reason, right? And if we look at your current business processes and you say, okay, well, where's the digital workflow that is really representative of my business process? So the overwhelming majority of what we do on a day-to-day basis within ERP and CRM practices, or things that maybe should be handled by workflow, those are your business processes. And oftentimes what we find is that there are efficiencies that can be made that will save time, that will help you to achieve that good old-fashioned opportunity cost, where your time and your staff's time can be better used working on something elsewhere. We just worked with, for instance, Montclair State University on a major procurement office business process modeling initiative, where we identified about 90% of everything they were doing on a day-to-day standpoint with P cards. I'm sorry, with purchase orders could have been handled with P cards. Not only would it reduce the risk for them, right, because they were handling a lot of PII data in a very manual way, but the paperwork, the human signatures and sign-offs, we were able to digitally transform those business processes by using what's known as business process modeling notation, BPMN, which is an industry standard, and mapping their level 0, level 1, level 2, and level 3 diagrams, right? They get more and more detail oriented as you move up the levels, and map all of the current state across every single stakeholder and department that's involved with procurement and technology, and then say, okay, here's the current state, where's the future state? And then modeling out those future state, and then aligning, right, best practice, business process, and technology configuration with that future state. So that really is the essence in the scientific method here of BPM. It's a tremendous value add to every organization. We're firm evangelists and believers that you should have an ongoing, living, breathing business process modeling for BPI, business process improvement, in every organization. Strategic plan development, again, the E360, we will provide you with that 3-year roadmap. Data analytics service, so for those of you that may be good stewards or knowledgeable of data science, right, whether we're talking OLAP or OLTP, oftentimes organizations have a lot of ambiguity and overlap where they shouldn't between volatile and non-volatile data. There is maybe no differentiation between one's data warehouse and their enterprise data warehouse, and the ODS, the operational data store. And so when you don't have that kind of differentiation, then what you don't have is efficacy. You don't have the ability to have true business intelligence, true predictive analytics. And when I say true, I mean meaningful, the kind of business intelligence and predictive analytics that you can tap into on a daily basis, that everybody sitting around the table in a cabinet meeting can say, now I know what this particular data point means, and we know where we're going. We can make decisions now. Decision support, supporting decisions through proper data analytics. And so that service is indispensable for organizations. Finally, just because the last one, application development, does kind of fit into the second to last, staffing support. What we're talking about here is just IT augmented staffing services. We can augment your staff if you have a need, especially temporary need. We typically don't like to augment full-time indefinitely. We'll augment full-time and part-time temporarily. Again, that's part of our nonprofit mission. We really aren't in this, to, take over the world. If we were, we'd probably be, staffing organizations and hoping to get multi-year contracts, indefinitely. But that's not really where our niche is. It is rather in the area of assisting you with identifying good candidates, incumbents for your positions, and then providing some temporary help in the meantime while that is underway, at a cost and a price point that is less than the cost of the salaried position plus fringe that you're likely going to pay for. So we'll help you save some money in the short run, 6, 9, 12 months, while at the same time help you to build your readiness and best practice within these positions by assisting with some of the needs of the learning management system administrator, of the director of IT, or the assistant director of IT, or the network engineer, senior network engineer, the cybersecurity specialist. And so this is an area where we really shine and we assist. Our third party, application development providers are also best of breed, and they assist with a lot of that as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to the next.
Thanks, Chris. Great review of all the different ways that we provide support for the effective use of technology across the institution. So with that, just a quick touch on how we support procurement. And I know that many of the institutions in the NCICU group use the HES consortium and other contracts, which we really like too, and appreciate all the work that they do. Just wanted to highlight the way Edge Market, our procurement co-op, has been growing and adding a number of different categories and vendors over the years. Always nice to just kind of have at your fingertips and know all the options that are available to you, because we know, even operating a co-op, no one consortium or co-op is going to fill all the needs that you might have. So if you do have any questions or are looking for any additional procurement support beyond what you guys already have today, we're always here to help. So just a quick touch on that. And then our events, which you all are welcome to. I know some of these might be a bit further afield, and some of these are based locally in New Jersey, to where Edge started. But you're all welcome to join us at our events. So those, some of those happen as webinars like this, educational events. I think we're planning one right now with Dawn and her virtual CISO team to look at some of the changes and the ways that the NIST requirements around cybersecurity are, the updates that are coming down the line, and making sure that institutions are prepared for those. So that's a webinar that we're planning that y'all will be invited to, and we hope you can join us there to dig a bit more deeply on the security side of things. We have our EdgeCons, our annual conferences. Chris mentioned earlier, we run 3 of those a year. They're usually topically focused. One will be a bit more on the traditional IT side of the house, networking and cybersecurity and cloud and things like that. One focuses more on digital teaching and learning, and another focuses on applications for data analytics and AI and some of the revolutionary technologies that are changing the way we can approach students from an enrollment perspective, from a retention perspective, from the way that our institutions operate, and get us to operate a bit more efficiently. So we really try and cover a lot of ground with those one-day conferences. And we have VIP events that we host the night before for folks like you and folks in the cabinet of member institutions to come together and just connect in a bit more intimate environment and build those those collaborative pathways between institutions and between the folks in our network, so that we can all get to know one another a bit better, and make sure that those lines of communication are open so that we can best support the efforts going on at all of our campuses. So just to say, keep an eye out for some of the upcoming news about various events. We certainly hope you can join the webinars that we'll be rolling out, and if you can make it up to some of the campuses we host these events on. I think next year we're looking at Kean University in New Jersey, Princeton University, which is obviously a big name here, and Seton Hall University will be our hosts. So we would hope to even maybe have some of you join us. I think we actually have another event coming up next week, and we host smaller symposiums between the EdgeCons sometimes, and next week's symposium is focused on AI teaching and learning. And we have a presenter who submitted a call for proposal, is going to be on the program from Tennessee State University. So we've got folks kind of coming from all across the map to join these conferences, whether presenting or attending. So we'd love to see you at one of them in the future. So with that, I think that brings us to the end of today's content. I do want to share a word of thanks to the NCICU, to Rebecca Leggett and her team for helping us to pull this together. The NCICU really organized and asked us to offer this webinar by way of introduction to EDGE, to really showcase the additional resources that NCICU is out there identifying and bringing to bear for their members. So we really appreciate the opportunity to do this in collaboration with the NCICU. We appreciate the outreach and the collaboration from what we see as a really key group down there in the state of North Carolina. And if there's any interest in collaborating with EDGE, Rebecca is a great sort of point of connection between our two organizations. And Michelle, I know you're working really closely with Rebecca to pull all this together. So I don't know if there's any other guidance you want to offer the institutions gathered here on how to best leverage EDGE and get in touch with you and things like that.
Sure. Thanks again for coming. And I will personally email all of you with all of our contact information, so you'll know how to get a hold of us.
Excellent. Awesome. So you'll be hearing from Michelle. Like I said, you'll also get the recording to this session, so that if you want to share it with any other folks at your institution or any other peers throughout your network, we would appreciate you doing that. And hopefully you did get a lot out of the session today, and learn a bit about the resources that are available through EDGE. Again, from that nonprofit perspective, at those nonprofit rates, really just to try and support the needs and challenges your institutions are facing today. And one quick thing to add on that, I don't know if we quite put the nail on it as we were going through the session today. Lots of these services we developed and we, pulled together because our members needed them, and they expressed that to us. If you have a need that you didn't hear about today, that you may not be getting met elsewhere in the market, or if there's a capability that you might need that EDGE might be able to help develop, that's what we exist to do. So bring those collaborative opportunities to us too. We develop these security services, these instructional design services, these support services, and answer to challenges that members brought to us. So if there's something you need that you didn't see here today and it's technology related, we'd love to work with you to support that too. So our door is always open. You will hear from us in follow-up, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks, everyone. And thanks again to Rebecca and the whole team at NCICU for organizing and supporting this webinar. Thanks, everybody.